This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
It's been interesting here in MAGA land. We've reached a crossroads, a tipping point. Which way do we go? Trump or Tucker? That's the choice. I think I know what most people choose. They choose the man they voted for. They choose the man who got 77 million votes. They certainly support him so far. But there's another fascinating crossroads, another fascinating choice to make right now. And Donald Trump's the only man who can make it. It's between two campaign promises. In fact, it's between two long-held principles, beliefs. One, no more foreign wars. Two, Iran can't have a nuke. Trump has said both those things. They didn't feel like they were mutually exclusive during the campaign. They didn't feel that way in his first term. But right now, he has a choice to make. I shouldn't say right now. Soon, he has a choice to make. Soon, it will be one way or the other. Either he goes all in supporting Israel in their war against Iran, which is raging so far with minimal help from the U.S., as far as we know. Israel controls the skies over Iran. Is there anything more emasculating than a country of 9 million controlling the skies over a country of 90 million, a country that has threatened to destroy Israel, has threatened to wipe them off the map? They can't even fly a jet. If they do, it gets shot down. So we know Israel is in control here. We know they are winning this war, but we also believe that Iran is attempting to build a nuclear weapon. Was it ready to go in 3 days, as so many in the media have told us for, 30 years? Or was it stalled, as Tulsi Gabbard testified in March? There's just so much going on here. And here's the problem. We don't know. You don't know. Tucker Carlson sounds pretty convinced that we are on our way to war in the Middle East. Many people do. Many people are right now convinced there's no turning back. But I'm not so sure. And I don't know. I hate to say it. I wish I could say definitively what Donald Trump's going to do, but I don't know. I don't know. He has a choice. He can support Israel. He can provide them with weapons. He can even provide them with the big bunker buster. Sell it to them. All right? That's my feeling. That's always been my feeling. Don't give it to them. Sell it to them. We are in debt. We have a bigger debt per capita than Israel, so why give them anything? Sell it to them. They can afford it. And if that's what it takes to wipe out Iran's nuclear problem, then problem solved. If we send a single soldier, a single airman, a single pilot into Iran, into this war, then Trump is indeed going to lose his support. This is, aside from closing the border, the second most important promise he made. No more foreign wars. I know I was all in. I, like millions of people who support Trump, do not want to see another Iraq situation. I do not want to see another American come home with his legs blown off. I do not want to see another $4 trillion spent on a Middle East war that just never ends, that you just can't win. Obviously, the war's begun. Israel, there's no turning back. They're going to continue to bomb, continue to fly missions over Iran, continue to take out Iran's military leaders. They took out the chief of staff of the military. He was replaced, and 4 days later, they killed his predecessor. So they're not stopping. They're all in, and we are certainly on their side. But there's going to be a real divide, a real split in MAGA. This is not just talk. This isn't just rhetoric and, guys on podcasts like Tucker Carlson saying he will lose a good portion of his MAGA support if we indeed join forces with Israel in a war. Would it be a righteous war? Sure, of course it would be. Iran has said they were going to build a nuke and they were going to use it, and they chant death to Israel and death to America. They want Trump dead. We are the great Satan. Israel is the little Satan. I would say those are fighting words in any language, but it wasn't that long ago. We saw the debacle. We saw the disaster of the Iraq War, which went on for 11 years, cost 4,000 American lives and tens of thousands of injuries. And we can't see that again. We can't do that again. That is non-negotiable. There cannot be American troops on the ground. And somehow people like Tucker are convinced that is the next step. Does he know more than we do? Probably. He's in DC right now. He's talking to a lot of people. He's got a lot of sources. He's not stupid. He is a brilliant guy, but he sounds like he's already come to the conclusion that this is a war and the U.S. is involved and there's no turning back. I'm not convinced. I think Trump knows that he can't do this, not because of his legacy or his reputation, but he knows you can't win. There's no winning a war. Iraq was small potatoes compared to Iran. Libya, Yemen, we're talking about 90 million people. And if you conduct a regime change war, you are talking about chaos. You are talking about refugees, millions and millions of refugees, more than Iraq, more than Libya or Yemen or any other country. It will be a disaster. Is the Ayatollah a threat? Of course he is. But chaos, to me, is even more frightening. Chaos in the heart of the Middle East. Chaos in a country they don't have nukes yet, but they have ballistic missiles. They have a military, not obviously a one that can stand up to Israel, but you are talking real danger, and there's no way it would be quick and clean and everybody would live happily ever after. It's just not going to happen. So we're in a quandary. We're at a crossroads. Do we support Israel? Of course we do. Every decent American supports Israel. But here's your problem. You have people like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon. You have people on the right who just do not want to see war. And you have on their side right now are these virulent anti-Semites, Israel haters. You have the Dave Smiths and the Candace Owens who are suddenly standing shoulder to shoulder with Tucker and Bannon and others like them. And that's not good. I detest these people who just think Netanyahu's a war criminal and Israel is calling the shots. Here's Tucker talking yesterday about, I listened to this whole thing. He is seething. I mean, this was an hour with Bannon. Then he did another show, his show with Bannon. And he's seething. He's enraged at the thought of going to war because we were all promised no more foreign wars, no more American lives lost in this quagmire. It's never going to be neat and clean and quick and efficient. We know that. So we were promised no more foreign wars. We can't have a foreign war with American troops in harm's way. I know we're sending the Nimitz carrier strike group to the Middle East. I know we're supporting Israel in every way, but we can't do it. We can't do it with American blood and treasure. We can't do this again. We just did it 20 years ago, and it was a disaster. It ruined George Bush's presidency. Mission accomplished is his legacy. And here's Tucker warning that it will be the end of the Trump presidency, just 4 months in, if he follows through and does what Israel would like him to do, what Lindsey Graham wants him to do. That will be it. That will end the Trump presidency. Check this out.
I think he's a deeply humane, kind person. And I am saying this because I'm really afraid that my country's going to be further weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of American empire, obviously. Other nations would like to see that, and this is a perfect way to scuttle the USS America on the shoals of Iran. But it's also going to end, I believe, Trump's presidency and effectively end it. And so that's why I'm saying this.
What do you mean by that? That's coming from you. That's
you get. Look, I knew Bush. I knew George W. Bush. We had, family connections to Bush. I knew Bush personally. I still see Bush sometimes, and of course, he hates me, and he does because I criticized him on Iraq, and that war is the sum total, from a historical perspective, of his administration. But I knew him, and he had all kinds of plans for the things that he wanted to do. But once domestically,
right,
to improve the country.
Right.
And you may agree or disagree, but like in his mind, he wasn't just about the invasion of Iraq in March of 2000.
Oh, no. He was going to redo Social Security. He had all
100%.
All types of. He was going to take care of the entitlements issue.
And he really thought it was going to work.
Yep.
And you could laugh at that or whatever, but the point is, the second you get enmeshed in a real war, not a fake, let's go bomb the villagers and declare success, though we don't even have a good track record. Like, why are the Houthis still there?
No,
there's a whole other question,
right,
which is how prepared is the U.S. military for a real conflict? And the answer is totally unprepared. Scary unprepared. I don't think people understand that. But anyway, the only reason I'm saying any of this is because I really, really care.
You know what? I believe him. He was a big Trump supporter. He campaigned with Trump. He likes Trump. In fact, he says he loves him. And so do many of us. But this will change everything. Again, it doesn't mean he won't do it, because he vowed they will never get a nuclear weapon. And he is convinced they were heading toward that point where they had a nuclear weapon. So Trump can say, listen, we're not getting in a foreign war, but we must stop Iran from getting a nuke. They have vowed to use it. They have vowed to take out Israel. I don't think they would use it on the U.S., but they would love to if they could. So which way does Trump go? I think he does not get us involved in a foreign war. But I'll tell you what makes me nervous before we get to Trump's reaction to Tucker. Check this out. This is a national poll, and I saw this from Gray House. Our new national polling of Trump 2024 voters shows overwhelming support for Israel's action against Iran and strong backing for a U.S. role. 73% say Iran cannot be trusted to honor any diplomatic agreement. 72% support direct U.S. military action if necessary to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons. 83% support Israel's preemptive strikes on Iranian nuclear military sites. 79% support the U.S. sending offensive weapons to aid Israel. 91% favor providing intelligence. 89% are very or somewhat concerned about Iran obtaining nukes. If Trump sees the numbers, and he does, and he often reacts to polls, he might think this is more popular among his base, among his supporters. I pray he does not, because this doesn't end well. You can't say, okay, we're in, they must not get nukes, and have an end date and say, we're just going to get in, drop a couple of bunker busters and get out. It doesn't work that way. And most of us are old enough to remember what happened in Iraq, and we still look at that and say, why did we do that? Iran now controls Iraq. What did we get out of it? What was the point? To turn it into a thriving democracy? It never works that way. So I think Trump has to, above all else, say, Israel, we're with you 100%. We support you. We hope you take out all the nuclear facilities. Do your best. Kill all their generals. Trump drew the line at killing the Ayatollah. He apparently, reportedly, vetoed the plan to take out the Ayatollah, and that's a good thing. As evil as the man is, we can't have chaos in a country this large. It just will not work out well. But Trump was asked. Trump was at the G7, you probably heard, and he left early to come back to D.C., arrived at D.C. at 5:30 this morning, will be convening his Security Council, his Situation Room, to discuss the situation in Iran. but he was asked about Tucker Carlson, and this was not a smart answer. Go ahead.
About this deal for 6 years, right?
6 years.
And he's done what they haven't been able to do. So he's done really a very good job. I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that's dumb. That sounds like one of the people at the No Kings protests who watch CNN all day. Tucker has more power, more reach, more influence now than he did when he was on every night on Fox News. He has a massive audience and people listen to him. People, it's not like he's just some whack job firebrand on the right and they're going to dismiss him and ignore him. He has influence and he's really good at making the case. I think, though, that he may have gone off the rails a little bit. And again, I'm not giving up on Tucker. I'm still listening to him. I still think he is an important voice. But like I said, I listened to about 2 hours of him yesterday. And then I saw this, a clip from Tucker. I didn't even know I should know this, but he has a newsletter. And he put out a newsletter. And I think Tucker is so determined to deter the president from further action in Iran that he may have gone a little too far, because I need someone to explain this one to me. Can you get Tucker's newsletter, the excerpt from Tucker's newsletter? This is a little strange. Tucker writes, earlier this week, unnamed Washington sources expressed concern over Israel's ability to fend off Iran's retaliation, which would inevitably lead to Benjamin Netanyahu ordering the American military to step in and fight on his country's behalf. What? This would inevitably lead to Netanyahu ordering our military to fight on his behalf. I mean, you say what you will about Trump. I don't think he would ever allow that. I don't think any president would allow would allow Benjamin Netanyahu to order the U.S. military to fight on his behalf. Now, I think Tucker's doing that for a reason. He's determined to stop the U.S. from getting involved here. But that's a little bit crazy. That's a little bit nuts. So Trump last night, after leaving the G7, heading home, this is scary, I will say. This is a little unnerving. Here he is last night on a Truth Social post. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, the capital city, a city of 10 million people. And all it took was a post on Truth Social. Who knew all the Iranians followed Trump on Truth Social? Because you know what they did? They evacuated Tehran. Here's a scene right here, video of the massive traffic jam of people trying to get out of their capital city. So their message is getting through. They are evacuating, and Israel is bombing Tehran. So it's on, and there's no turning back for Israel. They're taking some casualties. The latest is, I'm sure these numbers have gone up, but yesterday the numbers were in Iran, 224 dead, 1,400 injured. In Israel, 24 dead, 600 injured. Israel has intercepted between 80 and 90% of the missiles fired at Israel in population centers and neighborhoods. But here's what else makes me nervous. Again, Trump got two promises, two vows, which are conflicting at this point. One, no foreign wars. Okay, good. Don't want any foreign wars, anywhere. Not unless they're threatening us. But secondly, they can't have a nuke. He said it over and over again. In fact, we have a montage here. It's amazing. Anyone who tells you Trump isn't sticking to his promise on this is lying. He has said it literally hundreds of times. He said it for years. He said it on the campaign trail. He has said it since his return to the White House over and over again. they cannot have a nuke. Here's this. This is 16 minutes long. Trump saying Iran can't have a nuke. Here's a quick sample.
Let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
All right. So Trump is convinced that the nuclear weapons program is real and they are marching inexorably to having a nuclear weapon. He dismissed Tulsi Gabbard's claim today or on his flight back from Canada. He said, I don't care what she said. They are working hard to get a nuclear weapon. So he believes it. Israel believes it. Israel has great intelligence. If there's anything we know, as we talked about last week, I mean, they built a drone factory in Iran. They have people on the ground. They have great intelligence. And Israel believes they're close to a nuclear weapon. Are they? Isn't that relative? If they're a week away or a year away, they're working on it. And at some point, they have to be stopped. So if they're 10 years away, if they're indeed enriching uranium, they have to be stopped. That's the way they look at it in Israel. And Israel says it's an existential threat. And of course it is. They will use it on Israel. They will follow through with their promise. And Israel says this, and we kind of just slough it off. They say, never again means never again. We are here. We will protect ourselves, protect our people. They are a tiny dot on the map. Again, 9 million people against 90 million, more like 500 million when you count all the Muslim countries that surround them and hate them. Now, this is a little different because many of those Muslim countries do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon either. They don't want this threat in their back. Iran hates Saudi Arabia. You think Saudi Arabia is not going to applaud if Israel takes out Iran's nukes? Of course they are. But here's Tucker. Here's Trump responding again to Tucker. He writes, somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The problem is, where have we heard this before? That a country in the Middle East must be stopped from having a nuclear weapon. The last time they told us this, they said Iraq had WMDs. Greatest lie ever told. Led us into a war that lasted 11 years, cost thousands of lives. They did not have a weapon of mass destruction. So I know how Tucker feels. I know how it feels to be lied to, be betrayed. I supported our invasion, our attack on Iraq because I believed them. You can't, fool me. You can fool me once. You can't fool me twice. So I think it'd be nice to know more, to hear from more people, to see more of the intelligence. But here's another thing that makes me wonder if indeed Trump may take the next step and join forces with Israel. Trump, we've heard no more foreign wars. We heard him criticize Bush. We saw him on the debate stage go after Jeb Bush. But I guess we forget some of the things Trump did in his first term. He unleashed thousands of American troops to decimate ISIS. He boasts about that all the time, wiped out ISIS. He launched 59 Tomahawk cruise missiles at an air base in Syria. He did not withdraw from Afghanistan. He mobilized troops to fight al-Shabaab in Somalia. He took out Soleimani. He has used American might in the Middle East in the past. Is he going to do it again? You know what? We will see. I just can't imagine U.S. troops on the ground, U.S. troops in harm's way, U.S. troops dying in Iran. That cannot happen. But I'm a little nervous. Here's the poly market odds right now. What the question is, will there be U.S. military action against Iran before July? 67% chance. 67%. Man, that is frightening. No, don't do it, Donald. Wait. Let Israel do their thing. Let them fight their war. If Netanyahu tries to order our troops to war, don't listen to him. But here's a pretty wild scene. Get the anchor in Tehran. I didn't even know they had female anchors. Of course, she's got her hijab on, but she's doing a report on the war, obviously saying Iran is winning the war and little Satan is being decimated and Allahu Akbar. It's in Arabic, but here she is doing a live report as the bombs fell on the TV network, which of course got all the anti-Israel crowd riled up, saying they're targeting TV stations. Maybe, but this woman survived, continued to do a broadcast a short while later from a different location. But check this out.
متجاوز به خاک وطن، صدای متجاوز به صدای حق و حقیقت است. آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلوده استادیوم
That is wild. She survived, but they took out the TV station, and it can end. It can end today. I know I'm just going back and forth here on this because, again, we have to wait. We have to see what Trump's next step is. But every time Trump talks, every time he does anything, he's motivated by deal making. He's transactional. He's not an ideologue. He's not Lindsey Graham here, just itching for war like so many of the neocons. He is sincere in viewing this as saying, and he was a critic of the Iraq war, and he doesn't want it to happen again. He wants to make deals, and he's still determined to make a deal. And I think Iran may be at that point, and it will look great for Trump, which is important, if he can indeed stop a full-scale war and make a deal. Iran said they're willing to talk, but the U.S. can't be involved, which I think they should beg the U.S. to be involved, but whatever. If they make a deal, if they stop a ground invasion, if they stop the bunker buster bombs from blowing up the facility under the mountain, if it ends soon and Trump is involved, Trump will look good, and that is always important. And he will look good for being a deal maker, a peacemaker. That's what he wants more than anything. That's what he's doing behind the scenes right now, I think, saying, how can we end this before it starts, and how can I get the credit for it, which he will deserve if he can indeed use his influence over Israel to stop this thing before it ratchets up even further. So again, I think his heart is in the right place. I think Trump indeed wants no foreign wars. And if he could get Iran somehow, some way to give up their nuclear program and avoid further damage and destruction and death, that's ideal. That's what he's working on right now. So we're going to give him a chance. We'll give him a few days before we will go full Tucker Carlson and say this is going to end his presidency. But it is a wild divide when you think about it. Again, we say this all the time, but this doesn't happen with Democrats. They don't have vocal critics. They don't have people like Tucker and Bannon who are devoted supporters of Trump. trying to influence him to go one way or the other. They just go in lockstep. They just support whatever it is, open borders, war, the protesters. They just step in line, except for Fetterman. They all get in line. Here we're having a healthy debate before we make this next gigantic step. That is a good thing. And I think we're going to see in the next few days which way DJT will go. Just fascinating. And I guess we will see how Iran reacts. I'm thinking they're running out of generals. They're running out of military leaders. At some point, they have to at least beg and plead for a pause. So we'll see which way it goes. And you know what? Trump's going to make up with Tucker, and he'll make up with Elon because, again, he's transactional. He's not going to hold a grudge. He's going to do what works for him, what works for his administration. So I expect we will get through this, and the media will enjoy it. God knows the media, you got all the, they're all loving this attack on Trump from Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon and others. But Candace Owens said this is going to bring down his presidency. She just says flat out, she hates Israel. How does it bring down his presidency if he does what he said he was going to do? If he continues to do what he promised on the campaign trail, he will do everything he can to stop them from getting nukes. I think people will say, he said he was going to do that. I heard him for 10 years say he was going to do it. I'm not sure it brings down your presidency, but it certainly creates a divide. But we will see how it goes. All right, we got so much more to get to on this, whatever this is, Tuesday, June 17th, 250th anniversary of the Battle of Bunker Hill. Big, big day in Charlestown, Massachusetts. We got to get to the latest on Belter, the assassin in Minnesota. This story is just getting wilder and wilder. I got questions. I have real questions for the police who responded to the scene. Melissa Hortman's home, the House Speaker who was murdered by this psychopath. The cops were outside the door when he not only killed her and her husband, but escaped out the back door. How is that possible? We got that and many more questions for the cops, the authorities in Minnesota. We'll get to it, but first.
Excuse me.
If you've ever searched for your name or address on Google, it's shocking to find out how many results have your personal information. And it's not by chance. Data brokers and other people, search sites collect your personal information, your name, your address, your phone number, financial info, income, and hundreds of other records. They sell it and they share it publicly without your consent. But Incogni is here to put an end to that. You don't have to email anyone, fill out forms, or jump through hoops. Incogni handles the entire process for you. It hunts down these unethical sites and gets your info removed from the places that expose your private information. Incogni also continuously monitors if your data is put back onto these databases, requesting repeated removals. This keeps them off it forever. So you get way fewer spam calls, spam emails, and you get more peace of mind. And best of all, you can cancel it anytime. And they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can get it completely risk-free. Right now, you can get 60% off your annual plan by going to incogni.com. Use code Callahan. That's incogni.com/Callahan and use code word Callahan at checkout to get 60% off and protect your data for an entire year. All right, the story, everyone's kind of waiting on pins and needles to see what motivated Belter, the assassin in Minnesota. I watched the whole press conference yesterday with the U.S. attorney and the cops and the DA, and a lot of questions still unanswered. There is no manifesto. Apparently, he had lots of lists of, he had a hit list. People he wanted to assassinate, had lots of details about where they lived and who they, their families, stuff like that. He also had guns, AK-47s. He had no King's literature in his car. So he was apparently a no King's guy, which means he's not a MAGA guy. But he shot Democrats, including one, the House Speaker, who voted against health care for illegal aliens. And she did it. When she explained it, she was in tears. Like she wanted to vote with the Democrats, but she said, we have a budget. We're spending too much. We're wasting money on illegal aliens. And we're not sure. We don't know. But maybe that cost her life. But she went to the first, he went to the first house where he shot the state senator, Hoffman, and his wife, and didn't kill them, shot them many, many times, and they survived, which is wonderful. But then he went to two other homes. One person wasn't home, and ended up at the House Speaker's home, where the cops were there. He was at the door, apparently trying to get in and kill them. The cops were there at the home of Melissa Hortman, and he had a gunfight, exchanged gunfire with the cops, and then went into the house and murdered Hortman. How the hell does that happen? We need to, and by the way, these houses have doorbell cams. Are we going to see this? He ran into the house as the cops arrived, pulled the trigger, killing her and her husband. Hours following the gunfire, hold on, right there, he got away. So they're at the house, at least two cops. He goes in the house, kills the poor woman, kills her husband, kills her dog, drops his gun, removes his vest, and escapes out the back door. This 57-year-old whack job just runs out the back door. What the hell were these cops doing? This is just disturbing, to say the least. Hours after the gunfire, he went to a local bank wearing a cowboy hat and emptied an account in his name, using some of the funds to buy an old Buick and an e-bike from an unidentified individual. The Buick was later spotted abandoned on Highway 25 with a note inside to the FBI. In the note, he claimed his name was Dr. Vance Luther Belter, and he said he was the shooter. So he again heads into the woods. They find him in a field. So he escapes from cops, unarmed at this point, makes his way the next day to a bank or a bank machine, empties the account, buys a car and an e-bike, and he's still on the run. This is not the greatest police work. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but this doesn't seem possible. Hell, I always wondered how Andy Dufresne managed to make it to all those banks and buy a car before they could find him. And that was, a movie. This is real life. And this guy got away. It's just remarkable. There's an incredible tweet here from Benny Johnson. And he comes to the conclusion that the cops watched as he went into the house. Benny writes, "This is insane. We learned the Minnesota police just stood by and watched as Vance Belter murdered Rep. Hortman in her home. Minnesota law enforcement officials reported that 2 Minnesota police officers were already on the scene watching the house before Vance Belter ever stepped inside Rep. Hortman's house. They saw the killer in the driveway wearing the Halloween mask and the fake police uniform and engaged him. After a short firefight, the police sat and watched as Belter entered the home, killed the rep and her husband, and then allowed him to escape out the back door. They didn't stop him. This is obscene. Minnesota police stood by and let him commit these murders. This is dark and disturbing." Not sure all that's accurate, but I would like to hear. I'd like to see the doorbell cam. What were these cops doing? You don't go around the back and wait for him to run out of the house. He gets away on foot. Just crazy. Speaking of crazy, we now have video. We told you he was working for an NGO in the Congo. This guy's he went from being a general manager to 7-Eleven to a head of a NGO in the Congo, the CEO of the Red Lion Group. And apparently he was fond of proselytizing. I did not know this, but he was a religious man before he had a break. Here he is speaking in the Congo with an interpreter who's doing it in real time. And check out the moves. Who does he remind you of? Go ahead.
And I'm just as excited about Jesus.
Et je suis juste excité
Right
de
here,
Jésus.
right now.
Jusqu'à présent, même maintenant.
And when I get excited,
Et quand je suis excité,
I want to dance.
je veux danser.
And what Jesus did for me.
C'est que Jésus a fait pour moi.
Jesus is God.
Jésus est
Almighty
Dieu.
God.
C'est le Dieu
He
puissant.
saved my life.
Il a sauvé ma vie.
Woo! I'm excited about God.
Je suis excité de Dieu.
And I want to worship Him.
Et c'est pourquoi je l'adore.
Because He's coming again. And he's
Jésus, il
excited.
revient encore.
And He's got plans. He's
Il
got
a
plans
de plans
and purposes
et le dessein
for each one of you
pour chacun de vous ici.
and for me.
Et pour moi aussi.
Wow. You know, he might just be insane. We might have an insanity defense for this guy. If you're just listening along, he was dancing and he looked a lot like his pal Tim Walz, who appointed him to an advisory council in Minnesota. And Tim Walz, he knows all the principles. He sure can pick them. So Trump on the flight back from Canada, this has got a lot of the media, mainstream media, upset. But Trump was asked on the flight home from Canada, was he going to call Tim Walz to, I don't know, offer his condolences? And Trump gives the most Trumpian answer ever. Go ahead.
Have you called the governor yet or been able to speak to any of them?
I don't know. I called him. He appointed this guy to a position. I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out. I'm not calling him. Why would I call him? I could call him and say, hi, how you doing? The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess. So, I could be nice and call him, but why waste time?
I could be nice and call him, he said, but why waste time? That's so honest. You know, Trump's called a liar a lot. You know, the media loves to say he's a lot. In some ways, he's like the most honest guy. If he called him, it would be just performative. It would be so fake. He hates Walz. Walz hates him. Walz just a week or two ago called him a Nazi and a Gestapo and all. I mean, no one's attacked him harder than Walz. And he's supposed to call him and just say, sorry to hear about what happened. That's not real. That's not being honest. That would be fake. That would be like something Biden, that's something Obama would do, just fake. And what does it do? You know, what's the point of it? He's right. Walz is a whack job. What if he called him and asked, why did you name this guy to a board? You know, what do you know about him? Did you know he was capable of this? Would that be okay if he made that call? But the media doesn't care. They're killing him for that, you know, insensitive. Even some Republicans are criticizing him for that. But it's, you know, that's real. That's honest. Hell with him. Why call him? But I mean, Walz does have some explaining to do. Simple question, Governor. What did you see in him when you had appointed him to this board? You praised him. You commended him. You said he was smart and capable. Did you know he was capable of this kind of madness? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear more from governors and mayors who allowed their cities to be burned, of cops to be attacked. I want to get to this because this is a lot of people having a good laugh from this sheriff in Florida. His name is Wayne Ivey. He's a sheriff, and he held a press conference. Now, we look at the protests all across the country, particularly in LA, but, you know, everywhere, Chicago and Austin and New York, and we think that's just the way it is. That's the new normal. That's what's going to happen. That's why the people are so upset, you know, with Trump being, you know, in office. This is how they're going to act out. So it's going to happen. Hell, Portland and Seattle have abandoned, they've surrendered their cities to these radicals, these rioters, these protesters. And you watch what happened in LA last week, day in, night out, and you see the fires and you see the screaming and the, you know, we showed you a guy throw a Molotov cocktail to cops, a guy shot at the cops, throwing bricks and rocks and at cars and just millions in destruction, looting. And you say, we don't have to live like this. You don't. I don't care if you're in a blue city. I mean, if you're in Chicago or Boston, they're not going to elect a Republican. You don't have to pander to these people. Even Democrats look at that and say, we don't need this. You know, they'll lie about it. They'll tell you, it's a peaceful protest expressing their First Amendment rights. They don't want Antifa running wild in the streets. They allow it because they're beholden to the far left, and they somehow think stopping rioting is somehow, accommodating Trump in a way. So Karen Bass allows it, lies about it, says it's mostly peaceful. Whoever, Brandon Johnson in Chicago or the Portland people, the Seattle people, they allow it. They don't have to. There's a solution to this. Enforce the law. Blocking traffic is against the law. Arrest them when they block traffic. But here's this Florida sheriff explaining why Florida was so different. They had protests. They had a whole bunch of these No Kings protests. They had no rioting. They had no fires. They had no attacks on cops. They arrested people who broke the law. What a novel concept. This is how we should live. This is how we can live, the way they live in Florida. Let's listen to Sheriff Wayne Ivey explain.
So I'm gonna break it down for you, all right? And if somebody wants to know what I mean by turn violent, all right, this is what I mean. If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead. We're not going to play.
Kill you graveyard dead. Why is that such a difficult concept? Why can't the LAPD do that? Why can't they say that? We don't have to live like this. We don't have to allow Antifa to attack cops, burn buildings, loot stores. We could put this down. And they do it in Florida. Why can't California do like Florida? Is that so hard to understand? The law-abiding citizens will support that. And why do rioters and protesters and Antifa scum, why do they think they can stand in the roadway? We showed you man bun last week, blocking people from getting to work. Why do we allow that? That's a crime. And here's my favorite video of the day. Protesters blocking traffic in LA, supporting illegal alien criminals, of course, real good cause. And they got the car surrounded. And one woman, one moron, one just piece of crap decides to get on the hood. The car, she's not the only one. The car's surrounded. We'll play it again. There's 4, 5, 6 people around the car threatening the driver. If that car, little red car, runs over the protester, the rioter, the criminal, she went to the hospital. She has lower extremity injuries. Look at her. She tries to stand up. She can't. The guy ran over her leg. If that's my daughter in that car, I tell her, you did exactly what you should do. If they arrest you and charge you with something, okay, but you're not dead. You think Reginald Denny, do you remember who Reginald Denny was in 1992 at the Rodney King riots? He was a truck driver, just trying to do his job. And they blocked him, and they dragged him out of the car, and they beat him, and they gave him permanent brain damage, fractured his skull. He had permanent impairment of his speech and ability to walk. He underwent years of rehabilitative therapy because he didn't hit the gas. That could have happened to that driver right there. How do you know? There's nothing wrong with hitting the gas to get the hell out of there. That is self-preservation. That's what these rabble, these scum have to understand. There are consequences to your actions. They understand that in Florida. For some reason, in LA and New York, they don't, because they've been emboldened. They understand, and there's no better example than Portland and Seattle, where there are no consequences. They can do what they could burn a federal building. They can throw things at cops. They might get arrested. They're out the next day because the government, local, state, support them. They're on the same page. They're with them. They want to, stop immigration raids. They want to protect illegal alien criminals. That's where we're at. There's Florida and there's everywhere else in the country. All right, before we go, do I have time for Terry Moran? Terry Moran, we knew this was coming. Terry Moran, who was fired by ABC for his late night drunken rant against Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. It was just insane. The guy claims he wasn't drinking. Well, that makes it worse then, Terry, because that's how you really feel. It was just so revealing. You got to see how an alleged reporter and journalist really feels about the president and about Stephen Miller. Now he's started a podcast, of course, and he went on with Tim Miller from the Bulwark and explained that as a reporter, as a journalist, he doesn't have to be objective. Check this out.
Thing is, you don't sacrifice your citizenship as journalism, and your job is not to be objective. There is no Mount Olympus of objectivity where a Mandarin class of wise people have no feelings about what their society. We're all in this together. What you have to be is fair and accurate. And I would refer to the interview with the president that I did, or a lot of my work. And I would also say that this, while very hot, is an observation, a description that is accurate and true.
That is amazing. Again, 30 years, he pretended to be a journalist, a reporter, and he said it is accurate and true that Trump's nourished by hate. I mean, and your job is to attempt to do your best to be objective. When you're a journalist, if you're a talk show host or a podcaster like you are now, we get to see how you really feel. You hid it for 30 years, just the way, Margaret Brennan tries to hide it, or Steffi Stephanopoulos tries to hide it. They're all just full of hate and rage for Trump. And occasionally, at midnight, it comes out and he claims you can't be objective. Well, you have to be if you claim to be a newsman, not an opinion guy, a newsman, which you pretended to be. And by the way, you weren't fair and accurate in that interview. You were the one who claimed that Abrego Garcia didn't have the MS-13 tattoo, which he did. We know that. But good luck to Terry Moran. I'm not sure how many people are going to subscribe and listen to him every day. He's going to find out it's not so easy. He's going to find out that you just don't read a teleprompter. You actually have to do some work, do some show prep, Terry. But good luck to you in your new career. All right, that will do it for today as we await war. Just so strange. As we await, a broader conflict, as they say in the Middle East. We'll see. I still think Trump is determined to make a deal, and that's his thing, and I think he'll get it done. But we'll see. Thanks to everyone for watching and listening. Appreciate it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we will do it again tomorrow.
صدای متجاوز به خاک وطن، صدای متجاوز به صدای حق و حقیقت است. آنچه که ملاحظه کردید، صدایی که شنیدید، فضای غبارآلود استدیو